Today I'm going to show you guys how I write leg days. I'll go over programming exercises, sets, and reps with example programs for strength goals and hypertrophy goals, as well as strategies for those with less time to train. And in 5 minutes, you will have a completely written leg day ready to slot into your program. Jumping right into it, leg days target the quads, glutes, hamstrings, and calves primarily, with abductor, adductor, lower back, and core work sometimes thrown in. They're usually done twice a week in any program, with typical goals being to increase target muscle size, lower body strength, speed, or power. Now, before we get into laying out our week, let's go over what movement types will train which muscles. Knee dominant hinging movements will target the quads and glutes. Hip hinge movements will target the hamstrings and glutes, and in a lot of cases the lower back. And finally, ankle extension or plantar flexion will target the calves. Now that we understand our movement types and how our week is laid out, we can begin to lay out our individual workouts. Programming leg days for hypertrophy is relatively easy. You just order the quads, hamstrings, and glutes, maybe even the calves, based on importance to you, and then lay out your movements according to that list. Typically, you begin with either your hip hinge or knee hinge movement, followed by 3-ish accessories. And unless one area is really lacking, it may be smart to do your squat variation first on one day and the deadlift variation first on the other leg day. For strength goals, the idea here is the same. The main differences will come in the exercise selection and rep scheme sections. I personally find that lower back and core accessories help my strength lifts the most. If you are a minimalist with less time to train, you can literally just do your knee and hip hinge movements and go home. Maybe just do one accessory for whichever muscle you want to grow most. Now that our sessions are completely laid out, it is time to select exercises. As usual, if you want to get as strong as possible, you need to be using barbells and dumbbells. If you just care about getting big, machines and dumbbells with straps are probably better for most people because you won't be challenged at the core at all. But if you really like barbells and hate machines, you can certainly build great legs with traditional barbell movements. Getting into knee hinge movements for strength, some great options are back squats, front squats, and single leg squats. For hypertrophy, the hack squat, Smith machine squat, leg press, and dumbbell split squats are all great options. For hip hinges, the two best for strength, not including Olympic variations, are probably going to be the deadlift and the RDL plus its variations. For hypertrophy goals, RDLs and the other stiff-legged deadlift variations are probably going to be best. If glutes are a primary focus for you, I would choose RDLs instead of hip thrusts. Getting into quad accessories, lunges and Cossack squats are great options for strength. And for hypertrophy, I would program some lunges, leg extensions, as well as machines we just mentioned. For the hamstrings, leg curl machines are ideal along with RDLs. For the calves, any calf raise variation with a deficit that you choose will work. For abductors and adductors, the machine is great. Just know that squats and Cossack squats also work them quite a bit. For the lower back, barbell squats and deadlift variations do the trick, especially the deadlift variations. You can do good mornings instead of RDLs or hamstring curls if you want to get more lower back focus out of that hip hinge. Reverse hypers and back extensions are also good low back accessories. One final thing before we move on, I would not back squat and deadlift heavy on the same day. Say you squat on day 1, I would do an RDL with it. On day 2, you can deadlift followed by Bulgarian split squats or another machine that is easier on the lower back and less fatiguing overall. Now that we have our movements chosen, it is time to decide our sets and reps. For most people, I would recommend programming no more than 12 to 16 weekly sets for the leg muscles. Unless you're brand new, then start with way less. I typically do 4 to 5 sets of my 2 primary movements before 2 to 3 sets of my accessories. If I have a squat and RDL followed by leg extensions and hamstring curls, I can do 4 sets, for example, of the first 2 movements, followed by 3 sets of the isolation movements, totaling 7 sets for the quads and hamstrings respectively. And if you use that same formula for day 2, that will put you at 14 weekly sets for them with plenty of glute volume. If you program calf accessories, you can do more sets typically because you're probably only going to do 1 calf movement, maybe around 4 to 6 sets per session. And in terms of rep ranges for strength goals, you want your main lifts to be 6 reps at most for a lot of your work. And then for everything else hypertrophic, a good rep range to be in is 8 to 15. And just like that, you have a beautifully written leg day. And now that you got leg day out of the way, I know you want to know what the best chest exercises are, and you can find those ranked in this video right here.